Seiko Monsters. Been a staple on the channel for a long time. Still my main favorite watch, the SRP 309. Have this opportunity now. I don't have all of the Seiko Monsters. Weirdly enough, as many as I have here in front of us, there are quite a few missing. Nearly as many as I have here are missing. I don't know the exact number, but quite a few. I have to say big thanks to my good friend down in Texas for allowing me to have this opportunity to share these watches with you guys. We're going to just kind of run through them real quick, but in conversation with the owner of these watches, I agree with him. He gravitated toward them for essentially the same reason I did. I still think, even now, that the Seiko Monster, whether it's the first, second, or third generation, not so much the fourth, and I have some fourth gens here to show you, was kind of the best value proposition that Seiko offered. Even more so a little bit than, say, the SKX 009, 007. I think it was just the build quality, the construction, the unique language of the design, and the price points when these were more relevant, they were pretty low. For example, back in 2014, when I picked up this SRP 309, it was like $180, right in that range. So we're going to run through these. We're going to start off with the OG, the SKX. And I don't know the years, and I'm not going to do these necessarily in order, but this is the SKX 779. This and the 781 were the first monsters on the scene. These are the first gen releases. The black dial, the orange dial. You can see the heavily printed on loom is kind of a weird yellowish greenish tinge to it. You have those rocket hands, if you will, which I'll maybe try to set one up and show you what I mean by that. And then you have the full stainless steel bezel, 120 click, and it is shrouded. This bezel is kind of loose. We'll run a couple of the bezels and I'll find one that's a little sticky. These are actually easy to, if you wanted a little bit a stiffer bezel on it, you pop the bezel off and you change out the gasket that's in there. There's different size gaskets and you can really stiffen it up. So 200 meter water resist, and just I realize that the Seiko Monster is a hate it or love it type design. I love them, and I didn't at first. It was the SKX 011 and then the 007 and the 009. Once I started getting into the Seikos a little bit, then I got sucked into the Seiko Monster world. Now let's just run through the way I have them laid out on the table. And like I said before, I know I'm missing some. But this is the Sun Monster, the SRP 459. A lot of these are on these Barton straps. Most of these watches came on bracelet. We have the bracelets. This is just easier to show them this way because like this one's a limited edition. Beautiful dial on this thing. These ones were mostly Thailand release models. I could be wrong on that. Some of them are Asian release, and they came with special packaging and everything like that. And they're pretty hard to get now, especially in like this condition. The boxes might be worn and tore up, but all these watches are like, for the most part, in perfect condition. This is one of my favorite, still to this day, all-time Seiko Monsters. This is the Zamba, the ZAMBA. This is the SRP 319, and you have an interesting color pattern on this. You go from the red, the green, the purple, and it cycles back out. That would have been red, and then green, purple, red, green, purple, all the way around, and then the red hands, which you'll see again on the SRP 319 Dracula or Bloody Monster. This is again limited edition. You can see the case back on this one's actually smooth. It doesn't have the tsunami wave, and limited edition is printed in large. This one came on not bracelet. I think it came on like a red strap or something. So this one super rare. This is the Royal Monster. This is the SRP 657. Full polished bezel. Look at that bezel. Super, super polished. Royal blue dial with a white chapter ring. And the pattern is more, the markers are laid out like the Samba and the first gens, more of a rectangular pattern instead of the tooth design. Again, limited edition, only 1,750 of these. And yeah, see, this is how I like my bezels, where you gotta like kind of actually put in a little bit of work to get it to rotate. That's a perfect bezel in my opinion. A little more common, but anymore, yeah, all of these are long gone and maybe not as easy to get. This is the black case with gold trim Monster. This is the SRP 583. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that bezel action. It was always a crapshoot whether you got like a stiff or a loose bezel on these monsters. I'm not going to try them all, but the black case with the blue bezel, very similar to what was on the 455, and there was another one that was that's a sidebar conversation, but I modded some of these. Like I would change this out and put it in stainless steel case because I never really cared for the black dial cases. This one's not limited as far as I know. Yeah, not limited. This is the SRP 581. And then this is the SRP 455. I think there was another one they did of this in a 6 series. So this one's limited edition, but they didn't number them. So people tried to figure out on the serial number what number you had. I never did get actual verification on that, but this one has a really nice blue bezel on this with a gold handset and a gradient blue dial with more gold crown as well. Here's a very popular SRP 313, the Bloody Tooth Monster, red hands, red trimmed tooth and markers. This one did not come on bracelet. This one only came on strap. So if you picked up one of these and you wanted on bracelet, you had to source a bracelet, which isn't extremely difficult. You know, this one here was always super affordable. Even when the prices started to go up on other models, this one was still mostly affordable. This is the SRP 315, kind of more of a Halloween look to it, I think, with the black bezel, the black chapter ring, and the black date wheel as well. And even more Halloween-like is this guy here, black case. This is the SRP 311 with a gradient orange dial, similar to the last one, but even more orange going on with the orange filled on the bezel as well. And then this one here technically was the first of the second gen. Like I showed you, the first gen was the SKX 779. This is the SRP 307, and it was the 307 and the 309, the orange monster that I'm wearing here, were the first releases of the second gen. And when they went to a hacking movement, the 4R36 movement instead of the 7S26 that didn't hack. And if you look at the differences here side by side, you can clearly see that they used basically the same case. Those are interchangeable, bezel, but completely different layout with the handset, the dials, the markers, the movement, and of course the crown. You went with a knurling here instead of the old style here, which honestly matches the bezel a little bit more. But this one is nicer to operate, the knurling on there. So you do have the hand winding and the hacking with the 4R movement. I'm indifferent on that. I mean, I like to be able to wind it. So, but really with the old 7S26 movement, you just do a little bit of Seiko shuffle and the thing was up and running. So pretty simple, easy to use. After I'm going to throw in, let me do this one. This one is extremely rare. This is, did I write it down? I didn't write it down. I don't know. It's a first gen layout. It is a red dial and it says limited edition right on it. Pretty rare. This one is used as what you're going to find most of them in. And it says limited edition. They only made 1,300 and 13, which is a very common number on some of the limited edition ones, but pretty cool model for sure. After the 3rd gen, they went to the 4th gen. I'm going to be a little bit out of order. No, I should be all right. So this is the 3rd gen. They went back to kind of the original design. So there's a 1st gen and a 3rd gen next to each other. You can see they went back, not quite as defined rectangles. They actually were like a blend between a rectangle, more of a trapezoid or whatever you call it. I'm not good with shapes, but they were framed in, so it looked a little more premium. But they kind of cut off the ends of them, so they got rid of the kind of tooth marker design. And they went with the 6R movement, and it was the first iteration of the 6R. I believe it was a 6R15, and they did a date cyclops on there because the 6R movements were not day-date configuration. I don't know that I've ever owned a 3rd gen. If I did, it wasn't. Oh, no, that's not true. I did. I think I owned the jade and the blue. I don't have the jade here. That's a very sought after one. It's very similar to the blue coral, but in a green color dial. It's very good looking. So that's the black SBDC 025. They made an orange variant of this in a flat orange like this. That was the SBDC 023. Those are insane hard to find. I do have here the SBDC 075, which is more of a shimmery, shiny type orange dial. So they made both, but you can see the chaptering on this is just a flat orange, which would have been also used in the 2.3. I prefer the 2.3 over the 7.5, but that's whatever. And then if you love blue dials, it is basically impossible to beat this blue dial. This is, in my opinion, based on facts, the perfect blue dial. It is a nice pop of blue. It never really looks black. It always looks blue, because sometimes you can go a little dark, like on this Royal, and in low light, that might look black, versus this always looks blue. That's why I say that. All right. Oh, and speaking of blue, they actually did a navy blue. And then again, this one in low light might look black. This is the SZSC003. Why they changed up from the SBDC numbers, I have no idea. That threw everybody for a loop when it happened. But here it is. So if you go with the dark blue by the black, and if you go at distance, I mean, I have really good studio lighting in here, so you can see what I'm saying. Like if you come up close, yes, you can tell the black from the dark blue, but that's why I do not like dark blue dials as much as I do just a black dial. Or if you're gonna go blue, then I think you gotta go a nice vivid blue. Then we go to the 4th gen monsters, and we have, I think one of the earlier releases of it would have been this one here, the SRPH13. And again, you have big changes. You have completely different case, bezel. I mean, it's a ground up redesign, everything. And they went back to kind of like the 1st gen crown. It's very similar, a little bit more sharp. So you can see they kind of went back to the 1st gen design a little bit, even more so than the 3rd gen, which would be here. They have a little less shape to the markers. They're more rectangular, and they went back to a day date. So they went back to the 4R movement. So you can see there it's a 4R36. Bezel action, a little easier to get to as well, just because of the shape of the case and the bezel. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the 4th gen. I am a fan of some of the colorways they did, because like that's the black series. They did a Save the Ocean one. This one looks really good. It's a nice light blue. They changed the bracelet as well. They went wider with the clasp, and I'll show you on this red one here. They went wider with the clasp, and they got rid of this weird taper that they had on this side. Here you go. You can see they went from here and then it just jumped right down. So they kind of resolved that by just going with a wider clasp. I prefer the older bracelet. I prefer the older watch. Again, that is just my personal preference. These 4th gens are actually, they're good watches. They're not bad watches. I just prefer 1st, 2nd, and 3rd gen of the Monsters. They did some interesting colorways like this one. Very similar with a multi-color usage going on here as, say, the Zamba. They just didn't do it with the markers. They did it with the purple and the blue on the bezel. And then you have a green seconds hand with a gold balance. And you have some green text on the dial. You have a blue framed minute hand, a gold hour hand. This was a limited edition. And how many they made? Like 1,500 of them. So they did this one, the Black Series. This is the SRPD 27. This guy here is the SRPG 57. I know I didn't say all the numbers on all the watches, but I like this colorway, all blacked out, orange minute hand. That one's pretty cool. Again, limited edition. This yellow one seems like it would be a limited edition. I believe it's a special edition, which sometimes is even more rare. They're not really numbered other than the serial number. But this yellow one is actually pretty cool. Yellow with black case. I think I showed you everything. Now I need to show you the rocket hand, if you will. So I'll probably do it on, what's a good one? Maybe we'll do it on the SRP. You know what? I'm going to do it on my favorite one, the Samba. So, and it doesn't really matter like where you put it. That's a nice feeling crown, actually. I'll just do it pointing up. So if you line up, if you line all the hands up, it looks like a rocket ship. Like that. Yeah, I know it's super watch nerd geeky stuff there, but it kind of is what it is. I think I have the opportunity to buy this watch again. I've owned it once before and I sold it like a fool. I mean, I wish I could own all of these, but I cannot. And like I said, these are not even all of them. I know of one person that actually owned all of them. There's a bunch of different colorways, and that was Wayne. If you were into monsters, you know who Wayne is. It's loom shot time, guys. Monsters always had the best loom, and still kind of do. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next vid.